J Embree put out a video about the Doordash driver, and he discusses a few things in there. First, he seems to think that the white car circling the neighborhood was Doordash and not Brian Koberger. And then, when I didn't think it was possible for him to misinterpret another court document, he does it again. So let's dig in, take a look, and discuss.
And then news came out that they had surveillance footage of a car. And that car, they said, was circling the house, making several passes, doing 3-point turns, driving off, driving back before it parked. And the first time that I heard that, I thought to myself, that sounds like a delivery driver that can't find his delivery address. I mean, November 25th, they're putting out bolos on a white Hyundai Elantra. How do they know the white Hyundai Elantra isn't the Doordash driver on November 25th? Well, they don't, because they didn't file a search warrant for the Doordash until December 6th. Perplexing.
Okay, couple things to address here. First of all, he's saying, how do they know that the car driving around doing the 3-point turns, circling for the half hour, wasn't the Doordash driver? Especially when the warrant wasn't done until December 6th. Well, first of all, we know it's not the Doordash driver's car because it's included in the probable cause affidavit as suspect vehicle 1. That tells you that law enforcement is confident that they've ruled out the Doordash driver's car. Okay? Now, you talk about the bolo on the 25th of November. How would they know when they didn't do the warrant until the 6th? Well, first of all, the Doordash driver reportedly went to them within the first couple days after hearing about the homicides. So she, we don't know their name yet, so we don't know who it is, already had told law enforcement that they were the Doordasher and they would have seen their car. They would have ruled that out. So when they put the bolo out, the Dasher's vehicle was already ruled out. Secondly, by the time they wrote the probable cause affidavit in late December, even if they didn't happen to get the information until the 6th, they still could have ruled the Doordash driver's car out before writing the probable cause affidavit. So we know that is not the Dasher's car in the PCA. Police ruled out the Dasher's car. Now, that warrant on the 6th was likely to shore up information that they'll need for trial. It was to confirm that, yes, this person's a Doordasher. They've delivered to the house X amount of times. There's the pattern. There was nothing unusual about her getting a food order that night, etc. So it's just to have everything lined up for trial. Now, as far as you thinking that, well, the person getting lost had to have been the Dasher, a delivery driver not finding a direction, when the PCA first came out, I was hearing a lot of people saying that same thing. Well, I know that Doordash uses Google Maps as their interface for their GPS system on their app, and Google Maps is fairly accurate. So I checked it out and used Jack in the Box because that's what we all believe the delivery was from. It was the only thing open 24 hours that weekend. And the directions are turn by turn right to the driveway at the house. So unless the driver was having extreme trouble understanding directions, there's no way the driver should have got lost going to the house. So let me show you. So I didn't show the complete turn-by-turn directions from Pullman. This is just as you get to Taylor. But you'll see, turn right onto Taylor Avenue, turn left onto King Road, turn left onto Queen Road, and then, yes, it does say 1122 King Road, but it had just told you to turn left onto Queen. And if you look at it with the map, what's just shown right here, it takes you directly to the house. Like, that dot ends right there where their driveway is. There is no way to get lost. And if you think that the house isn't clearly marked, let's look at this. So here was a picture of the house with the porch light on. I'm assuming if she was expecting delivery that night, she would have had that on. The 1122 is illuminated. So I do not believe 1 minute that was the DoorDash driver getting lost trying to find the house. So now that we've established that it's not the DoorDash driver's car that's referenced in the PCA, let's move on to the next thing. And that was Pavarotti Embree misinterpreting another legal document again. So he was looking at the search warrant for DoorDash and the motion to seal the search warrant. So let's take a look.
Now, the curious part to me, though, is when you get into all of the defense motions to compel and the ones that are responded to by the state with a standard response. And it's usually either Court Administrative Rule 16G2, which we've already determined that relates directly to a confidential informant, or Rule 32G1 is the most cited one. And you can see right here under this seal and redact, and let's see, where are we at? This court does hereby confirm and order that the affidavit for search warrant, including any exhibit, search warrant, return of search warrant, including the inventory of items seized, and order are confidential, exempt from disclosure, and are sealed pursuant to Idaho Court Administrative Rule 32G1. It's the exempt from disclosure part that has me scratching my head, because they're not talking about disclosing to the public, right? That's what the seal is for. Exempt from disclosure is the state having to disclose the information to the defense.
No, that is not correct. 32G is about disclosure to the public, not the defense. So let's take a look. Okay, here is Rule 32, so ICAR 32. Notice it says the Idaho Public Records Act, 74-104. The public has a right to access. So when they cite this 32, it's about the public disclosure. Now this part is the 32G1 that they cite in those documents to seal. And it's talking about what records are exempt from disclosure. This means exempt from disclosure to the public. This has nothing to do with exempt from the defense. Now here is 74-124. And what's crazy is that Jay brought this up, actually brought all of these up, but completely missed the part about public records. Right here, I have it highlighted. Chapter 1, Public Records Act, exemption from disclosure, confidentiality. Public Records Act. Now, if you're curious about what the rules are that govern discovery and about what the prosecution has to turn over to the defense, that is ICAR 26 and ICAR 16. And in both of these, you will find all of the information about what discovery has to be disclosed and what is exempt. But the 32G1 is public records, public disclosure. Now, if you caught what he said earlier, also, he said that's why when the defense does a motion to compel, the prosecution responds back citing that ICAR 32G1, except that's not correct. When they reply to a motion to compel, they cite the discovery rules. They don't cite the disclosure, the public disclosure. What he's getting confused about is when the state requests a motion to seal the response. Then they do cite ICAR 32 so that the motion, everything in the motion is not disclosed to the public. So I'll show you an example from the latest motions to compel. Okay, so here was the state's supplemental response to the defendant's fifth motion to compel discovery. And you can see what they put in here. And they talk about Exhibit 1, attached, blah, blah, blah. Here's the second page. Just basically saying, see all of our motions, like prior to this, our responses. And the last page. And it just says the state has and will continue to provide discovery in accordance with ICR 16 and applicable law. Oh, I already showed you ICR 16 that deals with discovery. Nowhere in this document does it cite 32G1. That's because this has nothing to do with the Public Records Act. This has to do with discovery rules. Now, where J is seeing the 32G1 is on the motion to temporarily seal the supplemental response. So it's not in the response itself. It's not saying they can't disclose something to the defense because of 32G1. It's saying we're not going to disclose what's in that response to the public. So now it's being sealed, citing 32G1, which is the Public Records Act and exemptions to the Public Records Act. So Jay is getting a little confused with his document reading. Okay, so I hope this helped clear up some of the misinformation that's been floating around. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'd be happy to go over this information with you further.